So that's begun. We will record this and share this out on the website. So I think most of you who are on this call have been to public meetings before, so you probably have seen all of this, but you can leave and rejoin the meeting at any time. And we are going to pause for opportunities for people to ask questions. So this is basically divided into a couple sections. So we'll be talking about the water main replacement to start with, and then the road resurfacing after that. And we'll pause so you can ask questions in between those. But if you have something that's really burning, you can jump in there, either virtually raise your hand or write something into the Q&A. This meeting is being recorded, and then all the meeting materials will be posted at the project site, which is this page right here. All right. And if I can just get my slides to advance. Whoops. All right, so, sorry about that. Oh my gosh, the technology issues we're experiencing tonight. So I do have a demographics poll. We do like people to take this poll. This just gives us a sense who we're reaching, so we can get a sense of who we're not reaching. This we just use internally just to gauge who we're reaching. So if you don't mind taking it, we would appreciate that. It is not mandatory. Completely optional. So I'll just leave that up for a few more minutes, and then I'll take that down. In the meantime, I'd like to go over meeting norms. So meeting norms are just a reminder to be nice to each other. So with that, we ask that you commit to learning and avoid speculation. So we encourage you to ask questions. We really do want you to understand what's happening. So please feel free to stop us and ask us questions. And then we also ask you to remember the importance and rights and dignity of other people. So critique ideas, not people, and be thoughtful about your language, that we want this to be a welcoming place to everyone. So again, I apologize for the mad scramble right now. I'm kind of myself feeling a little bit overwhelmed here with the fact that the link was not posted right away. So that is up there now. Cynthia, we'll turn this over to you at this point to talk about the road project. Oh, I'm sorry, we're starting off with Igor, so we'll turn this over to you to talk about the water main project. And I do see that we have another person that joined us. Welcome, welcome. We're just getting started. We had a little bit of a late start because of the link being posted a little bit late. We're glad that you could be here. Feel free to jump in with any questions as we go through this project. So with that, I'm turning it over to Igor, and he can talk about the water main.
Hello, everyone. My name is Igor Katlar. I'm a project manager for engineering department within the city of Ann Arbor, and I will be the project manager for Platt Road replacement project. I will start by getting like somewhat general information about the project, what we're doing, what entails, timing, and stuff like that. So a Platt Road replacement improvement project is the location of the project is basically between along Platt Road, between Packard Road and Platt Road's intersection with Huron Parkway. And this stretch of this corridor is going to have a few things done to it. One, we're going to be replacing the existing water main, about 1,300 feet of it, and it's mostly going to take part on the south part of the corridor, and I'll show a picture of that in a moment. The second part, we're going to be resurfacing the road, which is, if any of you travel through it, know is in terrible shape, and that work is also going to be done. We would like to make sure that we're combining those two major things, because the last thing we want to do is resurface the road or fix the pavement and then later come back and start replacing water main, which is old and under capacity. So we're replacing with a new 12-inch water main, which should last us a long time. and provide the capacity for this area and for this corridor. As long as we're doing that work, some additional work would include replacing some of the storm sewer structures along the street, because they also some of it need to be replaced because they in bad condition, and they not we're talking specifically some of the inlets which are not taking properly taking enough water from the surface into the storm sewer system. We're going to look into some of the sidewalk ramps, and if any of the ramps are not in the ADA, which stands for American with Disability Act compliance, those ramps will be replaced with the proper ones. And also some of the curb along this corridor, which is not in good condition, will be removed and replaced with a new curb. Most of the work we're talking about, almost all of the work, is within the paved area of the street, the concrete and paved surface of the street. So I'll go to one of the slides, and I'll share my screen right now, and then I'll zoom in on one part of the screen, and basically we're going to be talking about the water main part of the screen, because this is the blue line. As you can see here, the shaded area is the surface, the road surface, which will be removed and replaced. Pretty much the entire road surface going to be the entire road will be surface. The blue line right here, I can some more, is a location of the new water main. The new water main, the new 12-inch water main, which we're going to install along west side of the street, is relatively close to the existing water main, kind of located in the same area as well. So as we're going to be going along, we're going to be replacing the old main with a new one. We're going to make the connections to the existing water mains, the one where you can see right here, which go into the onto the side streets. The one you can see right here, and the one you can see right here, that's the side streets, and then continues through the through the water main system. And then all our water main work gonna end somewhere in this area right here, which is north of Norwood. At this point, we'll connect to the other piece of water main, which is which does not need to be replaced. So this is the old part which we're replacing right now. I want to mention a couple of things about the water main replacement. As part of this work, that requires more excavation. It's going to be excavation along this side of the street. Once the new water main going to be installed and tested, cleaned and tested, we will be connecting it to the existing water main. And during that connection time, when we're going to be switching residents from the old mains to the new ones, at that time, there's going to be brief moments of water supply when the water supply going to be shut down. Usually they would last from few hours to about a day. We try to keep it to the minimum, but it needs to be done in order to disconnect those lines from the old mains to the new. As it always, it's our not only our requirement and our custom. We try to let people know at least 3 days in advance when they're going to be when we're going to go through the water main shutdown, and people going to have no water supply. And we'll notify the residents, anyone who would get affected by this by the shutdown, and so people can know and people can make plans according to that. And it's a fairly straightforward process. Once the main is installed, then tested and connected, and then people are going to have new undisturbed water supply. And that's part of this thing. The other thing I want to mention is something which happens during every construction project. And that is, yes, there's going to be some dust. Yes, there's going to be some construction noise. Yes, there's going to be some activities which are not going to be, not going to be very, very pleasant, just like with any construction. But unfortunately, that is unavoidable. We would try to, again, make sure that it goes as smooth as possible. We have a good contractor on board, and the contractor is, would have to, just like any construction work in a city, would have to follow the hours of the construction and make sure that not only work is done properly, but also people's life is affected as little as possible. The mail delivery, the collection of recycle and refuse going to continue. We will work with the other city services, and we'll work with the residents to make sure that it goes uninterrupted, and we would try to minimize the impact to the residents as much as possible. During the construction, we will have, like, for example, in areas like this, we would have, when we installing the water main, we would have some temporary closures of driveways and side streets when we have to cross this area with a trench. As soon as it's done, we would try to restore traffic on a temporary basis. Before it's even paved, we will try to restore traffic as soon as possible so people can move in and out. And also we would let people know in advance when that's happening, especially when we're talking about like individual driveways where people have no other way of getting in and out. We would let people know in advance, so if they need a car, they can park it somewhere else, or they would know that for a few hours something like that happening, so the driveway is not going to be accessible. Talking about that, I would like to switch to Heather. Did I switch to another picture, or am I?
You did, yeah.
Okay. So I would like to switch to another picture, and that is just showing the temporary traffic control during the construction. I will zoom into this one. During the construction, we will keep traffic flowing on the street. We will keep one lane in each direction. So as I showed on previous picture, the water main is located, the new water main located on the west side of the street. So that's the site which is going to be under construction first. So on the west side of the street, we'll close that side for the construction activities. And on the east side, we would keep one lane of traffic in each direction, and also, allowing the local residents to get in and the commuters to go through. And that would go through the installation of the water main and through the phase of doing road resurfacing on that side of the street. Once it's done, the traffic control would switch, and basically it would be, it would be the opposite. This side right here going to be under construction, and this side here where the one lane of traffic in each direction will be maintained. And so that's what's going to happen throughout the entire length of the project. The project is, we are tentatively, let me switch out. Uh, how do I stop sharing?
You should be able to,
Oh,
it
yeah,
should
got
say
it,
stop
got it,
share.
got
Yeah,
it,
you got it.
got it,
Yeah.
got it, got it. I'm sorry. Yeah, I got it. So the project is scheduled to begin in April of 2023. And just to, I'm going to give a brief history of this project. I should have done it sooner, but originally this project was, we designed and planned to have this project done in 2022. But unfortunately, just like everywhere else, we did experience, or construction industry experienced some shortages, including the shortage of the pipes. We were receiving information that the 12-inch pipes, which we were, and some of the valves and bands and all the other stuff which needed for the water main work just would not be available in time for us to start the construction and get it going through, and get it going in the construction season of 2022. So we had to push this construction in 2023 season. So it's going to start in April, and we would like to have it completed by end of August of 2023. So it's going to be a fair duration for the project. Again, not entire project going to be worked all at once. As I was talking earlier, we would be switching from one side of the street to the other side of the street and stuff like that. But we hope to complete the project before September of 2023. The only other thing I want to mention that this project is receiving has been funded from the multiple funding sources. If someone is interested in that information, it's not only the city funds, but we're also receiving some federal funding for this project through Michigan Department of Transportation. And so it's combined funding to have this project complete and to have this work done on Platt Road. And that's what I have for the water main and traffic temporary traffic control part of the presentation.
Thanks, Igor. Does anybody have any questions? And I meant to go over this at the beginning. You can ask questions by either submitting a question through the Q&A that's at the bottom of the screen, or you can virtually raise your hand. And I don't see anybody that's on the phone, but just in case you get booted off and you have to rejoin by phone, that would be *9 if you want to virtually raise your hand. And again, I apologize for our rough beginning. It really threw me off, just the scrambling that we were having to do. Plus, we were getting a little bit of Zoom bombing behind the scenes. So again, I apologize for that. So for now, does anybody have any questions that they want to ask? Okay, well, then I guess we move on to Cynthia, and then as questions come up, we can get to them.
Thanks, Heather. Good evening, everyone. And I want to reiterate what Heather said. We're so glad that you made it here to be with us this evening. So I am going to go ahead and share a role plot here. For those of you who aren't familiar with me, my name is Cynthia Redinger. I am one of the transportation engineers with the City of Ann Arbor. And I am the transportation engineer working with Igor on this project. So I'm also going to be working from this is a roll plot. We call this a roll plot. It's just a PDF. It has the entire length of the corridor, and I will be showing you the conceptual drawings for how the pavement markings, once we finish, with the surface. One of the things about doing water main is that we rip the road all up, and then we are able to restore the surface and then make changes. In the case of this project, staff has been directed by council to perform a lane reconfiguration. So we will be taking this section of Platt from being a full 4 to 5 lanes of vehicular travel, and we will be including dedicated lanes for bicycle travel. So where we're starting at right here is at Packard. And as Heather said, please feel free to pop in with any questions that you have as we go through this roll plot. One of the nice things about this room is that we're able to address those questions as they come up. And Heather will be monitoring those questions, and she will interrupt me as needed to make sure that we address them. The pavement work will start north of Platt, but as you can see here, we will be doing some pavement marking work to the south of Platt and across Packard as well. So installing the bike lanes, we were looking at the south side of Platt as it approaches Packard to make sure that the lanes are going to be able to align well. What we have focused on is maintaining the capacity for the southbound approach here and maintaining as much capacity at the intersection, so that will reduce the amount of delay and changes in travel time that are seen in this corridor while maintaining the bicycle facilities. So south of the intersection, we will be dropping that dedicated right turn lane that currently exists. We will be maintaining both of the bike lanes that are currently in here. And Heather, can you give me a nod? Can you see my little hand where I'm pointing? Okay, good. So we will be maintaining both of those bike lanes. This buffer area right here is just to make sure that these lanes all line up as well as possible with their counterparts on the other side of the intersection. This striping pattern here is just to highlight where the bicyclists would be crossing the street. And once we get to the north side of the intersection, I'm going to zoom out just a little bit right here so you can see this a little bit better. We'll have a northbound lane for cyclists, northbound lane for vehicles, and then southbound, we're maintaining that left turn lane. We're maintaining our through lane. The bicycle lane will be coming down and have a space to come up here. And if the cyclist happens to be making a left, they'll have a bike box to be able to get properly aligned for that left turn. So in addition to that, dedicated lane for cyclists, this right turn lane has markings for any cyclists who will be sharing that lane to make a right turn. Okay, so moving up through the corridor, you can see we've just established where the cyclists need to be a little bit better with pavement markings, and then right turns will need to yield to the cyclists as they're getting into that right turn lane. And as we're moving north through the corridor, we'll be maintaining 3 vehicular lanes. So that's a northbound through lane and a southbound through lane, a 2-way left turn lane. And the cycling lanes will be buffered throughout the corridor. We're adding a crosswalk here at Lookout Circle and Norwood. This crosswalk will be enhanced with our RFBs. And we are highlighting those conflict zones for the cyclists as well. This section will continue up the corridor. And in a very similar fashion, all the way up through the corridor, we get up to the Edgewood location. We have an existing crosswalk here with an island. We will also be enhancing this location to include an RRFB. So I apologize, I probably got into a little bit of jargon there. An RRFB is a rectangular rapid flashing beacon. So those are the pedestrian activated warning devices that we have located around town.
And Cynthia, we do have a question.
All right, what's our question?
would it be safer for cyclists and also for the opportunity and also offer the opportunity for a protected lane if there were just a combined right and through car lane?
Did they happen to specify where they were talking about specifically? I guess it doesn't really matter. So this is a
Southbound at Packard intersection.
southbound at the Packard intersection. So what we have going on here, this is a little bit of a wider cycle lane, but the thing is we're moving cyclists to the left of right turning vehicles because it is a dedicated right turn lane. It is, you don't want to have those right turners turning right over top of the southbound through cyclists. So that is the conflict that we're removing with this design. And right now we don't, this lane will be a little bit wider. It's very similar to the design that was installed on South Industrial at Eisenhower. And it's a little bit of a wider lane, so it's not a minimum. I think this one is laid out at 6 feet wide. If we get much wider than that, motorists try to use them as vehicle lanes, but it will also have the wider edge lines. So it's part of designing and including that right turn lane and not having that conflict at the intersection itself. Looking to the north, in this area, the question of whether or not vertical elements could be included. Vertical elements are not proposed at this time because we do not have the maintenance equipment solved for yet. And that means that right now it will just be a buffered bike lane, but it's one of those things where as we as a city are able to solve that maintenance component, being able to provide sweeping and snow removal for protected facilities that are of this width, then we will be able to go ahead and look at installing some vertical elements on this corridor as well, but those are not provided at this time. When they're not proposed at this time, I should say. And as we continue up the corridor, we do have some widening that's occurring in this area. So the buffer does get a little bit wider through here. And then the lanes are meeting up with existing conditions on the other side of Huron Parkway. So we do have this vehicular merge that will be happening in this area, but we do have enough width to provide the cycle lanes and the buffers at this location as well. And the bike box.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Heather.
Yep, there's another question. Does vertical elements mean bollards and protection curbs?
So at this point in time, we would be looking at if this design goes forward, gets installed, we get that component, that maintenance component taken care of, then we would be looking at a vertical post type of separator. Once we start looking at doing things like concrete curbs and that sort of stuff, then there are drainage impacts and those sorts of things that we would not be moving to in a near-term scenario, but that's something that maybe down the road could be looked at. It's not out of the question for forever, but it's not a near-term solution.
And I think just definition wise, that's how I'm reading this question, what a vertical element means. Yes, it does mean bollards and other things like that, but there's no determination on what that would be in this instance, if and when we do install something like that.
Yeah, thank you. Sometimes when you live with this all the time, it just gets a little like, I think everybody knows how to use your words.
Mhm.
So that's pretty much what we have going on. This is a signalized intersection. The big things that will be going on here is we are widening these ramps to accommodate more of a shared use, and there's work that will be going on this side of the intersection as part of the Viridian development as well, that will be widening these ramps over here to kind of accommodate that sort of shared use approach to the crossings at the intersection. And that's what I have to present. And anybody has any other questions, I'm happy to get into any details that you might want to discuss.
I don't see any other questions coming in, but we'll hang out for a few more minutes in case something comes to you. Yes, a question did come in. Can the reconfiguration and bike lanes be striped all the way up to Washington?
That is not part of this project. And that would be a separate project that would require its own analysis. That has not been looked at.
Maybe it might be helpful just to give a reminder of the project, where it starts and ends. So Packard at the one end, and then, kind of a block before Washington at the other end.
Yeah, Huron Parkway. So Platt and Huron Parkway at the north end.
So none of that's getting torn up, in other words. So it's only getting
Correct.
dug into up until it turns into
Yep.
Huron Parkway.
So yeah, the bluish, purplish sort of color shading is the limits of the pavement disturbance. And basically the project limits for this project. So what Igor showed earlier with the maintenance of traffic plans, those do extend a little bit beyond this point, because we need everyone to get organized before they're entering the actual work zone. And so those plans show a little bit more than what we're showing here.
Yeah.
All right,
yeah.
we have another, oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah, I just want to reiterate that the shading is showing the limits of the road resurfacing part of the project. So yeah, that's where it ends.
This next question that came in is, my understanding is that the city council resolution specifically called for an all ages and abilities route on this portion of Platt. And the guidance in our transportation plan specifies that buffered lanes are not sufficient to meet all ages and abilities threshold on a road like this. I recognize we have maintenance issues we need to figure out, but at the moment, this design does not seem to meet the goals set out by council, and I'm wondering how we're going to rectify that.
At this point in time, like I said, we cannot sweep, and we cannot clear snow if we put any vertical devices in. So they're not part of the project. Our hope as staff is that by the time this project is constructed, we will have that figured out, and then we would be able to go through as the city and install those delineators, those vertical elements. But at this point in time, we can't guarantee that we're going to be able to install those. So that's why they're not included as part of Igor's project. Another thing to keep in mind is that part of the project funding is federal funds. So it's been bid through MDOT, and we do not have those vertical elements in the contract as it already stands. And so that would be a new element that we don't have a price point for. And so it's one of those things where at the end of this project, to go back and install those things is something that we will be 100% set up and ready to do. It's just not going to be part of this actual contract.
And here's another question. How about eventually a hook into County Farm Park and potentially something to make going to west from Washtenaw East Stadium? One challenge with this area is that it's very hard to go west from the south side of Washtenaw or East Stadium. Making a left out of Trader Joe's or left out of Arbor Hill Shopping Center is scary on a bike. And then added on there is, and making County Farm Park more of a utility than a recreational route. So something that some people can commute to rather than be out there just for fun.
I can speak to that a little bit. It's outside of the scope of the project, but the Viridian project, which is the public-private partnership that is going on with the land that was purchased from County Farm Park and Avalon Housing and the Viridian developer, they are filling the sidewalk gap between Huron Parkway and where the sidewalk ends up by County Farm Park. So at that, in finalizing, that filling that sidewalk gap, you can't really tell, the aerial's a little old. So we do have bike lane striped on Platt right now, but it does drop as we widen out for these two lanes, for the right and the left turn lane as we're approaching Platt. So Viridian, as part of their plan, when they're filling that sidewalk gap, they're actually going to be building one of those diagonal ramps where a cyclist can exit from the roadway if they don't want to be in a shared environment. And they will be building like a shared width path that will come down this way. And they will upgrading this ramp right here to be a shared width, so it'll match the ramp that we're building on the other side of the street. And then that will, provide that'll make that connection a little bit easier for folks who aren't comfortable in a shared use environment. But it's outside of this project scope. But I reviewed that project, so I know a little bit about it.
And then this next question is, where will pedestrian crossing features be added?
All right, so we're enhancing this crossing here at Edgewood, and that will include the pedestrian activated warning devices with the RRFBs. And then we are also down at Lookout in Norwood, including a new crosswalk. We're installing a new crosswalk here. And it will also have the pedestrian activated warning devices with the RRFBs.
All right, and two questions from one person. The first one is, does the lack of equipment and staff to handle snow removal preclude including vertical delineators in contracts? That is, does the city need snow removal equipment first? Is that the issue with not putting in the delineators?
Yes, because then all winter long or whenever we have snow, you would not be able to use those facilities. So right now, if our current equipment can handle 8 feet. So if we have anything less than 8 feet, we can't clear it. Once again, we're hoping that will get resolved by the time this project is construction is complete, but that is outside of my control.
And you're talking Sorry, just to clarify, you're talking 8 feet width, not 8 feet of snow.
Yes, feet width. Our current equipment needs 8 feet to get through.
Right.
Right. So, we have a whole bunch of locations in town that are really kind of primed to be starting to install the bollards, but we can't until we can get this equipment taken care of. And it's not just snow, but really the sweeping is also extremely important, especially in the fall, because leaves, and especially wet leaves, can be just as slick as ice. So we don't want to leave our bike lanes with treacherous conditions.
All right, the second question is any signage, etc., planned to mark the transition from on-road bicycle facilities to no on-road bicycle facilities where northbound Platt transitions to Huron Parkway?
We do have standard signage that we use in those conditions, and we are, that's usually marked with share the road signage.
Oh, and there was a follow-up about the contracts, the earlier question, meaning federal bids contracts. That's what this person meant.
Yeah, it's federal funding administered by the Michigan Department of Transportation. Sorry, Igor.
Okay, no, that's absolutely correct. We have we have funding from some of the project funding is from MDOT, Michigan Department of Transportation, and the advertisement and the bidding of the project went through MDOT system. So it's a partnership between MDOT and the city, and the city would be managing the project. But Michigan Department of Transportation technically has the contract with a contractor to perform this work.
And right now, there's not funding within that pot of funding to put in the delineators. Is that correct?
No, that's not included in a bid of this contract. That's correct.
Okay. All right. The next question is, I understand the road won't be resurfaced north of the split. I was just interested to know if the lines could be scraped up and moved, so at least the bike lanes could continue.
That's not something that we've looked at this point. And I can't comment on whether or not it would be feasible. I don't know. I can't even comment on like if we have width that we could do that without having a capacity impact, and we haven't done any kind of a capacity impact, and we would also have to coordinate that with the Michigan Department of Transportation.
And this next question is how long will one or both lanes of Platt be closed?
At this point, it would be a guesstimate on my part, because before contractor provide the exact schedule for each part or each phase of the project would be purely a guess. But I would say that installing water main, so having construction work on the west side would take longer, because we not only resurfacing the road on that side, but we're doing water main installation and testing and connection, all that part. So I would say probably between maybe 2.5 months would take the construction would be on west side, and the traffic would be on this side of the road, and then the work on this side is resurfacing work. So we don't have to excavate and utility replacement out there. So that would be faster. That would probably be about a month and a half or so. But please don't hold me to this timing, because it's at this point it's purely guesstimate until we have contractor provide exact schedule how they plan to attack this project.
All right, the next question is, what will be done to prevent the Darlington neighborhood from becoming a high traffic cut through between Washtenaw and Packard while Platt is closed?
I mean, I think the road work is limited to the Platt Road itself, and I know that we would go slightly, maybe slightly, we would go into the side streets, but not more than that. But as for the Gloucester Way, it's not part of this project, so we're not going to be doing any work within the Gloucester Way. So on one hand, people will not be affected; they'll be able to use the drivers and everything. On the other way, it's just not part of this contract.
All right, that's it for questions for the moment. Again, we'll stick around for a few more minutes to see if anything else comes up. Here's a question. Where will the traffic go while Platt is closed?
The traffic will continue on Platt. One, we'll shrink it to one lane in each direction, but we plan to keep the traffic flowing. And then we'll switch. First, it's going to be on the east side. The traffic would be going on east side of the street, and the west side will be under construction, and then vice versa.
All right, any other questions? Well, again, I want to thank everybody for sticking with us and our rough start at the beginning. Oh, here's another question. Will there be a water shutoff in the neighborhood area?
Yes, the water, once the new water main is installed and tested, when we're going to be connecting the side street to this water main, there will be some shutdowns. We would have to shut down water main in order to make connection between the new water main when we're going to be reconnecting it to the existing grid. So as I mentioned earlier, we will provide notifications. We do it about 3 days in advance to let people know when the shutdowns are coming, and we'll try to keep it to a minimum. And they would go from sometimes a few hours, sometimes they go longer for a day, but they don't go longer than that. So, and like I said, we'll notify people in advance when this is happening.
And we have another question that came in. Will residents of Concord Village be able to exit onto Platt in a timely manner while this construction is progressing?
Yes, we'll try to, as much as construction would affect the traffic, we'll try to maintain entrance and exits for the residents and of side streets and allow people to get in and out as efficient as possible. Would it be as good as without construction? Probably not. We'll try to make sure it's as smooth as possible, but and we'll work with the contractor as much as we can to make sure that it is people can get in and out whenever they need.
All right, other questions? Will the contractor be parking equipment along Gloucester Way?
I don't think so, because, I mean, we giving contractor, I mean, the Platt Road is relatively wide. So we're giving contractor enough room on the side where the work gonna be going, that the equipment gonna be there. So I don't see them going and using side streets for the equipment parking. So I think that shouldn't, they don't need to, so that shouldn't happen.
Other questions? Out of scope, but lots of contractors parked inside protected bike lanes today, Division Street, etc. Is it standard practice to allow that, or is this a violation?
Perfect time for a cough to hit me. It is a violation, and the best response that anyone who sees that can have is to call the police department's non-emergency line and report the incident, and they will send someone out to catch them, hopefully.
I just want to add, oh, we got plenty of questions. Um, I just want to add that, again, on this project, I believe contractor has ample room to park. So I don't see them really using, or really, I don't see them to have the need to go into side streets or go into anywhere else and utilize it for parking. So hopefully it shouldn't be an issue here.
Yeah. And Eric is emphasizing how dangerous it is. And it is. So definitely take pictures and report it.
Yeah, and it's an ongoing conversation at City Hall about how to address this. The DDA is working with their board towards being able to help us purchase the smaller maintenance equipment, so that particularly like in the two-way cycle tracks downtown, which it sounds like that might have been since you were discussing contraflow travel, but being able to, you know, put some delineators within, you know, posts within the cycle track to prevent that sort of misbehavior from motorists. But you know, once again, it's the maintenance equipment. So we are working on it, and it is an ongoing conversation. It is a tough nut to crack, though.
When does the construction start?
We plan to have the work start in April 2023. We don't have exact date because it's early in the season and because of the frost law and all that stuff. So usually, you know, it's weather dependent and stuff like that. So we don't have usually mid-April when we see the good timing to start the construction, because contractor would have to use Michigan Road to bring the equipment, supplies, and all that stuff. And we want to make sure that once we start, we can go, and that the weather would not affect, because doing like stop and go creates more headache.
Other questions? If there will be more meetings on this, can you please make a Gov delivery alert for it? I thought there was. Was there not?
I'm not sure.
I'll find it real quick. I know that at the end of last week, I received a copy of one that went out. I think it was on the 8th.
But yes, the answer is yes, we can do that. There were
Yeah,
also
so
postcards that went out as well.
you know what? I apologize. This is a courtesy copy to my meeting tomorrow evening. It's just not this one.
And this person writes, I only found out about this meeting through WBWC. Will you be sending out updates to those who are most affected along this section of Platt?
If we have contact information for those people, we'll be we'll be able to send updates. Otherwise, we'll be posting updates on the project webpage, same location where the meeting was, where the meeting contacts were. And as the project starts rolling, we'll have updates on the schedule, and we'll know better when it's going to start. And once we're going to start this startup phase, we will post the updates that we're working on water main, or we go into the road work, or we switching traffic from one side to the other side of the street. So that's probably the we will be sharing this info on the project.
And people in this neighborhood and the surrounding neighborhoods did receive a postcard, a physical postcard that went out.
Yes.
Bruce says he begs to differ. I take it you did not receive a postcard? He did not.
He might be outside of the boundary area that received the direct mailings.
All right, other questions? And he says, neither did my neighbors in Concord Village. All right, other questions? All right, well, if there's no other questions, then I think we can bring this to a conclusion. Once again, I want to apologize for the rough start. I can't apologize enough for that. We'll continue on to post any information to the website that you have. You can go to that website to also get contact information. I don't think Igor's contact information is up there yet, but it will be. If you have any follow-up questions, anything that you want to ask the team, you can certainly send an email or give us a phone call. This person says that they saw this on the observer calendar. Okay, good. All All right,
Mhm.
so we'll maybe just hang out another minute or two, but otherwise we thank everyone for joining us tonight and sticking with us and asking all of your good questions.